We could just move it. All right. Welcome everyone to our first segment of Sister Wisdom Wednesdays. And today I have my good girlfriend of over, was it 30 years?
Over 30 years.
Oh my gosh. My good girlfriend of over 30 years. I can't even call you a girlfriend anymore. You're my sister. This is what it's all about. You are most definitely my sister. So let me introduce my sister in empowerment, in life, in love, in teachings, in everything. Miss Rosie Bailey. She is the Chief Saucier of Secret Sauce Marketing and Media and Chief Encouragement Officer of At This Too Shall Pass. So first, let's talk about our relationship. Like just to give the people how you felt when you encountered all this that is Noreen. And for those that are watching that has not um, been on the platform before, I will introduce myself. My name is Noreen Foy, and I am the founder of the Save Our Sisters group and Save Our Sisters Unplugged, which is a podcast that's all about resilience, where I empower women to share their survival to success uh, journeys through the power of storytelling. And as a part of that segment, we are doing this extension of Sister Wisdom Wednesdays, which has been inspired by my sister, Rosie Bailey. And so let me tell you how that first started before we jumping into your story, before you pick me apart. So I visited Maryland one day. I was on a trip visiting family, and of course, you invited us to stay. And I just had so much going on that day. I think you could just see it, but I feel like the stars were aligned, that we were there together because you weren't supposed to be there. You were
Hmm.
supposed to be in Atlanta. And after that whole trip, I mean, you gave me so much that I could, like, you poured into me. My cup was, it was empty. I have to say, my cup was empty. Might have had a little bit of it, the backwash in it. But I felt like I was really drained. I was mentally drained. I was going through a lot of things and I was dealing with a lot of things. And I just wanted to, I just wanted to just release it and just have a platform to release it. And you just embraced everything. So this is why I wanted to create this. I started doing my Sister Wisdom Wednesdays, but I started to just do it online and I just put some, just some nuggets that women can use in their everyday life. I think the last one I did was about confidence and I've put some more out there, but I wanted to start doing this as a live segment, just to get some women up here, get them on the platform, and I can also show a little face and just touch base with my base and let them just see that, hey, I'm here. There's somebody behind the movement. She's just a little bit scared, but this is 2024. I'm doing it. I'm being proactive. I'm doing it scared, but I'm doing it. But I want people to just know that their walk is our walk. And so inviting you to the platform first to introduce this segment was key for me because it was all inspired by you and your sister wisdom that you gave to me. So,
Oh, thank you, Noreen. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, that was a great weekend. I don't remember why my plans got changed, but I think it worked out well that I was here and that you guys were also here to enjoy the peace and tranquility of just the views and where I live and draw my peace,
mm-hmm.
and then for us to be able to share um, just our the experiences and and coming from somebody who's known you from from when you were much younger, I think coming from a place of understanding key
Yeah.
was also key.
Yeah. And, I think that having these platforms where we can just be candid with each other and just meet each other where we are, I think they're so important, um, because sometimes women don't know how to act in certain situations. And some of the situations that you gave me advice on, listen, I'm going to put all my business out there. Okay. but I know that there are areas of my life that I can improve on, right? And nobody knows everything. I don't have all the answers. I don't even know sometimes if I have most of the answers, but I'm going to try my best to at least give what I know. And if I can't find the answer, then we'll find the answers together. That's just how I roll, right?
Mhm.
And so, what do you think the importance, or how important do you think that having this sister wisdom and these sister relationships where we can just be candid and give this good advice, how important do you think that is?
I think it's crucial because so many people, if you think about how many people now are committing suicide or just really going through just deep, dark depression and feeling so alone because they just feel like if nobody else understands or nobody else has gone through what they have gone through. And I think a lot of that, especially with our Caribbean upbringing, there was a lot of situations where what happens in this house stays in the house.
Exactly.
Don't tell anybody your business. And there's also this huge fallacy that, oh, you know what? I'm not going to have a lot of women friends because you can't trust women. And that is so not the case at all. What I have found, I've always been very transparent in my life in terms of things that have happened, things that have impacted me. And I have found a couple things happen. Number one, speaking it out loud sometimes releases it and brings a different understanding. And speaking to somebody, just somebody in general, can give
Mhm.
you a different viewpoint. Speaking to somebody who knows you and, can also give a different depth of insight because they know who you are, they know how you respond, they've seen your good, your bad, your ugly, and can give you the honest truth in terms of how you should react. And speaking with somebody who may have gone through that same situation could also give you a different viewpoint because it may be something that they can tell you how to get through it, or they can tell you how they got through it, or they could say, hey, this is what, experience has shown you may not want to get through it or go through it. So that's why it's important to share.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And I think, women always get a lot of stigmas for everything. I mean, if there's any anyone that's going to be beaten down in life, I always feel it's always the woman, and unfortunately sometimes we as women beat ourselves up more than the average person. For instance, if there's a guy cheating, you're more likely to cuss out the woman that you would with going and holding this guy accountable. And I really hate that. But I really like how we have really been turning a corner as far as empowerment, as far as uplifting each other, and as far as seeing eye to eye and coming to the table on an even playing field. I feel like we've really come a long way with that, and this is why we wanted to expound on that. And having you on here, it just makes it all the more better for me.
Yeah.
So, tell me what a chief saucier of secret sauce marketing and media does.
Okay, goodness gracious. For me, it really is just the company that I started. And for me, when you think of a chief, it's kind of like a chef. It's kind of like the person that takes everything that's good and special and unique about your company and turns that into your secret sauce. So I'm really just the person that meets with people, finds out what their hopes, their dreams are for their personal growth, for their company, and then look at who they consider their competition, look at who they decide their target audience would be, and then mix all of that up to come up with a strategy that puts them in place to succeed and win and make money, which is the point.
Yeah, that's always the good.
Hmm.
Nobody's gonna turn down making a little money,
Yep.
and then your project, this too shall pass.
Okay, that for me actually really ties in well with what we're talking about today. That is my purpose, my calling in life is really just to encourage others. And that I started I don't know 12, 15 years ago on Facebook, a page that's called This Too Shall Pass Encouragement for Today. And it really was started because two of my girlfriends in particular were having a kind of a rough time with their kids. And it was like, venting out loud, venting on social media about the kids said, hey, let's not do this. how about I start this page? And I'm going to start it for you guys, and we are going to post encouraging messages to help us get through the day. And
Mhm.
it started from just those two friends and then some other folks, and somehow it grew to almost 12,000 people following the page in 48 different countries. And that encouragement page really is just about sharing, whether it's memes or words of inspiration. And it has grown to the point where I get messages in terms of, will you pray for me? My mom is going through surgery, or my mom's on her deathbed and I don't know what to do. Or my son just committed suicide, or I was on the brink of committing suicide and your message just came across. So really just impacting people,
Mhm.
um, just finding them, helping them in a world where there's lots of negative energy. People sometimes still need to know that somebody's there, somebody cares, somebody sees them, somebody listens. I have been on the phone at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning because if I see a message that looks as though it's somebody in struggle. I am not a professional counselor by any means, but I do know how to pray and I'm a believer. So I have been on the phone, seeing somebody go, okay, here's my telephone number. If you want to speak to somebody, call me. So it's again, when we talk about whether it's sister wisdom or what it is, like my life has absolutely not been perfect. I have been through a lot of things that people would not believe that I have been through. And God has blessed me with a very forgiving heart, and forgiving to the point where I think it's sometimes ridiculous. I really wish I wasn't as forgiving. But what it also does is giving me an opportunity to really walk in His light and His path. And in terms of how I look at things just a little bit differently, truly from the way, in terms of when you think about, what would Jesus do? And that for me brings a little bit more understanding, a little bit more kindness than probably the ordinary person would do, which is why I'm able, without judgment, to listen to anything, any story you might tell me, any story any of my girlfriends might tell me in terms of situations that they're in, and I can listen without judgment from either angle, and also listening because I speak to so many people and I've seen so many circumstances and situations. I've been an ear to a lot of my girlfriends. I've been an ear to a lot of my male friends. I actually spent 3.5 hours yesterday on the phone with one of my friends who was going through some stuff, and just talking through life sometimes is what makes what makes the difference. It's not that I'm any more wise than anybody else, but I've seen and heard enough conversations and enough situations where I've seen things work out really well. I've seen things not work out, at all. But I think the simply sharing those experiences just opens it up for folks to know that they're not alone.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think that is really key, is letting people know that they're not alone because, like you said, we have grown up in a culture where we're not supposed to tell what's going on in the household. And
Mhm,
unfortunately, for some people, not telling makes the situation at home worse.
mhm,
And so bringing these stories to light and encouraging women to just really share their truth and stand 10
mhm,
toes down on what has happened, and not how do you say, don't worry about what other people are going to think about you sharing your story. you
mhm.
know I think encouraging them to do that is really key in this society because women, man, listen, we are bad, we are bad. We are pillars. We have so much to offer this world, and to deny us that, or even for us to deny ourselves that by holding ourselves hostage, by
Mhm,
keeping what we've been through to ourselves and not sharing it. Because, like you said, like it's just like you said, we want people to know that they're not alone. And when people know, oh, you've done this too, and you've gotten out of it,
mhm,
well, it opens a conversation. First of all, it gives you that peace that, okay, I'm not the only one going through it. And then it also opens the conversation to say, well, how did you get out of it?
mhm. Or through it, because I think that I think sometimes my approach a lot of times is when I'm listening to my friends, I'm really careful because my thing is, hey, what do you want to do? Do you want me to just listen? Do you want my opinion? Or what do you want? What do you want to do? Because a lot of
Right.
times what I'm gonna tell you is gonna be framed by what that is. Let's say somebody has a partner that's cheated. Okay, what do you want to do? No judgment. Do you want to stay? Are you hell bent on leaving, or do you just want me to listen? Because then my
Right.
response and my advice will be, my not even necessarily advice, but my responses to you would be based on where you think you are. Because even in terms of things like that, how people get through marriages, and I think we've spoken quite a bit about that, and even with some other friends recently. Um, you can get through a lot of things. It's really just how.
Yeah.
And somebody who's been through a lot of those things can tell you how to get through a lot of those things. I'm divorced again. And so I think I was speaking to another couple, and the husband said to me, well, you've been divorced, now twice. So why should I listen to anything you have to say? You are absolutely right. You have an amazing point, because I have not been able to make my marriages work. But can I tell you, from the perspective of a wife in a situation, this is what I felt my husband could have done better. Could I tell you, from a wife's point of view, this is what I think I could have done better? Can I tell you what I'm seeing in terms of signs, in terms of where you are right now, that this, if left unattended, will grow into something much larger than it needs to be. And I think being able to share openly, without the stigma, is life changing, because a lot of women, a lot of people just absorb the shame of anything that has happened in the relationship. Okay,
Exactly.
so let's say I was molested. Okay, you absorb the shame. The shame is not yours. The shame is absolutely not yours. Okay, my husband cheated. That shame is not yours either. Okay, my
No.
husband cheated, but I want to stay. That's not your shame. It's also absolutely your right to want to make things work the best that you can. It doesn't
Exactly.
mean, because it doesn't mean that leaving is always the best answer in every situation. Sometimes it is, but sometimes, okay, you may leave, and then the next relationship may have a different challenge you may have to work through. So it's really just about finding the balance again, and just having a sounding board. And that's where I think, good girlfriends come in, not necessarily those that are going to enable you, but there's something that's my mantra for 2024, and that's to call people up, not call people out. Because when you
Exactly.
call people out, you're just telling people about themselves. You're pointing out the things that are wrong, the things that they have done, let's say. Or it's like, hey, well, you've done this. Calling somebody up is saying, okay, you've done XYZ, but here's a different path, and this is how you can avoid that pitfall in the future. And I think that's what we have to be really cognizant of, so that we're not just telling people about themselves, but we're helping them with a roadmap. And I think that that's probably a kinder, more constructive approach to the way that we handle situations when people bring them to us as well.
Yeah. And before before we got on, we even got into a pre conversation
Mhm.
where we were talking about pulling people up, because I was like, I'm not gonna give another sister something that I don't want for myself. If I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong. I'm not gonna bring my ego to a conversation, because if I'm bringing a problem to you, I'm wide open. It's because I want the growth. I need to know if I'm in the wrong, and if I'm in the wrong, how do I dress this up? How do I reframe this so that I can make it better? Like, we're talking about relationships, there's a lot of people that have a lot going on in their relationships. And sometimes, 9 times out of 10, it's how they say it. Sometimes, of course, what they do, if you're cheating in a relationship, yeah, that's a big thing. That's a big ask to ask me to really just look the other way for that. But we can't we can't just put fault on just one person.
Mhm.
It takes two to make things work or fall apart, depending on which way it's going. But if I'm coming to you and I say, hey, I have I'm gonna use a friendship, I have this going on in my friendship circle, and she said this and I said this, I'm open enough for you to say, well, you know what, Noreen, maybe if you didn't say it like that, maybe she would have been a little more receptive to what you were saying.
Mhm.
Or you would say, yeah, Noreen, you was right. You was right. She was absolutely wrong, and this is why I feel she was wrong. It's like you have to open yourself up for the criticism
Mm-hmm.
as much as much, and the correction as much as the praise.
Yeah, and I think that
And I think a lot of people don't really look within. I think they just think they want somebody to just validate that they're right, or validate what they're saying and validate what they believe, but they don't want you to say, well, Rosie, you know what, I don't think you was correct. I think you should have handled that differently. I think you completely overreacted, and we need to stop that.
Mhm. And I think for me, one of the differences is the way that I approach things. It's not necessarily about who's right and who's wrong in any given situation, really. I think I was very blessed from a business perspective to have had to attend as a leader a million training classes, and I think one of the best ones that I did was one of Franklin Covey's Seven Habits of Highly Successful People. And I think the piece that I enjoyed more, I have a talking stick that I got about 19 years ago, and I still have it. And it's like looks like a little totem pole. And the goal of the talking stick is whoever has the talking stick, they're the person that has the floor and the ability to speak. And out of that also came seek first to understand and then be understood. And I
Mhm.
take that now in my interactions with, try to do it with my children, do it at work, and try to do it in my relationships as well, friendships, um, romantic relationships, because my famous words are help me understand. Because if I don't understand where you're coming from, because you may not hear what I hear, I may not be able to communicate in a way that you're understanding. And that's another part of communication. And it's
Right.
really not that one person is right or one person is wrong in most cases. They're just coming from different points of view. And people's points of view are shaped by their life experiences. Whether it's from childhood, whether it's from a previous relationship, whether it's from work, the way they handle things. And if they don't know they can't respond any better than what they know. And I think that in our minds, sometimes we get so caught up in, well, this is the way that I would do it, or what's so difficult to understand about this, when you have to look at, help me understand why you think this way. It's like, I completely disagree with you. You don't have to say it either, but I completely disagree. But help me understand how you got to that way of thinking, because I don't understand the thought process. And sometimes, if you give people that opportunity, then they would surprise you and it will blow you away. It's like, oh my God, is this really what you were thinking or why
Right.
you were thinking this? It's like, oh my goodness. And, and like, you talked about the approach. And I think for a lot of us women, think I've heard this so often, Rosie, it's your tone. It's not what you said, it's your tone. And it's the tone. It's
And you've told me that.
well,
You've
yeah.
told me
Oh,
that.
absolutely. Oh,
You were like,
absolutely.
your favorite words to me is like, I think you need to rephrase that.
Yes. Well, because I think because you have there's direct and there is, what's the word? Um, you're more than direct. Let's put it that way. And I remember from the time I met you when you were little, I'm like, oh
I'm
my God,
authentic.
what just came out of her mouth? I'm like, Noreen, did you really just say that?
I did not go
Beyond
to
blunt, no
I did not go to
filter.
charter school.
No, not at all. Not at all.
But
And so,
that's why I take the time to
mhm.
really reframe myself, because I know I could be polished, right? And I know my tongue is hot, as we say in Australia. I know my mouth hot.
Mhm,
But it's not conducive to good relationships. You have to really take into account how the other person is going to receive what you're saying. And
mhm,
so I'm always more conscious about what I'm saying, and I always put myself in the other person's seat to say, okay, how are they going to receive what I'm saying? Like,
mhm.
sometimes you just have to say your shoe stinks or your armpit stinks. Like, there's no other way to say it. But things where it's sensitive, you really have to take the time and put the effort into saying it with love,
Mhm.
you
And
know.
I think sometimes not only stuff that we think is sensitive, it's like, what does the other person, feel? And sometimes that's where we have to double back when you could say, okay, well, yeah, I could see why they were offended because, in your mind, you're just saying it out of love. In their mind, it feels like if you are criticizing them or you are putting them down. So, when we talk about people having different, the five different love languages, just like people show love in different ways. People receive love in different ways. And it's the same thing with criticism. To you, it might be constructive criticism. To them, it might just be plain old criticism. So I
Yeah.
think, working with our delivery as well. And I know that, with women, sometimes it's hard to hear from another woman, simply because I think we've been pre-programmed to think that there's always a hidden motive, there's always some sort of agenda. And I don't know who set that up where we just have this inability to trust other women. I know I've heard, guys say, okay, no, women are always talking about each other. You can't get a bunch of women together. And I said, I'm grateful for my sister circle because that's just not the case. It's,
Yeah, that's not, it
it
shouldn't be
truly
the
is not the
case.
case. I can, I am about to be 55 and I can count on one hand without using all of my fingers how many women have ever done something that was, let's say, treacherous or extremely, deliberately deceptive or um, willing to put me in harm's way. And when I look back, one of the things that I did was, I was kind of, well, why would they do that to me? Why would they do that to me? Why would they do that to me? It wasn't about me. It was about them as I look back and how they felt, or whether it was a jealousy thing or whether it was a intimidation factor, what it was. It was never about me. It was really about them. But those women are so few and far between. I have an
Mhm.
amazing group of women that I can go to for wise counsel, for anything that's going on in any area of my life. There's somebody that I can call who can either talk me through or out of anything I'm going through. I have one of my best girlfriends. We absolutely disagree. Polar opposites in terms of, some aspects of my life, things she thinks I should do or not do, as the case may be. But at the end of the day, she always ends with, I love you and I'll support you, whatever the heck it is you decide, even though I absolutely disagree with you. And I think just being that vulnerable and that accepting of we're not going to always agree. And, sometimes people tell you stuff you don't want to hear because you've already made up your mind, but they still have your best interests at heart. So I think that's important. And I think also identifying who you can trust with which areas of your life. I don't think that necessarily you can trust one person with everything. It's very rare to have somebody that you can just be open and honest. It don't matter what it is. You can open your mouth. You can say it. There's zero judgment. Those people in your lives are few and far between because sometimes people will be people and they'll repeat stuff, not necessarily out of malice, but they'll just repeat it trying to help somebody
Yeah,
else. And sometimes that may come back as of, oh, yeah, totally that in confidence. Well, I didn't know it was gonna, rebound like that. So that I think we also
yeah,
have to be really careful, really careful with in terms of who we share, but always make sure you find somebody to share, because women dying of heart attack or just like from chest pains and having to bottle hurt because we're just so much, we're just very emotional creatures.
and we
I'm
take
not
that
gonna
in
say we're
mind.
more emotional than men because I think anger is an emotion, and I think
Oh,
I would say that
definitely.
men are a lot more angry than women are, so that's emotional too. But I
Yeah,
think we're just we embrace our emotions a little bit more. And I think sharing that and getting, releasing some of that and getting comfort. I think that's one thing we do better than men. We'll
yeah.
talk about it. We'll get a hug. Something's gonna go on. You'll have your sister group, whatever have you, just encouraging you or come. Let's go to the spa. Let's get our hair done. Let's get our nails done. Let's find a way to just make ourselves and each other feel better.
Exactly. It's gonna be definitely some alcohol and some self-care behind
Yes.
the behind the resolution. Some liquor and
Brunch.
some self-care behind the resolution because that's our
Hmm.
feel good. Like, oh, I love brunch.
Yeah.
I love brunch. And I really enjoyed this conversation. You hit on so many really important points, and I hope that the women watching would be able to really take that in because um, we really need to remove the stigma that we can't get along. I've been introduced these past couple of years to some amazing women. I've met them on Clubhouse, I've met them in person, I've met them in my city, all like-minded, and I don't think I've really met a whole lot of women that are portrayed on reality TV. You know, I may have been one of them back in my 20s. She wasn't anything nice, but she also had a lot of trauma that she was holding on to. So we let little Noreen simmer. We keep her on
We give
simmer.
her some grace.
Yes, we give her some grace, but we keep her on simmer because some people be needing her. But we want to evolve. We want to really just extend to the younger generations that, hey, you know what? We don't need to be those people. We don't need to be against each other. Everything is a choice. We have so much knowledge and value and businesses that we can build together. So many ideas that are not tapped into because we're not being real and honest with each other. I mean, we need to just be naked with each other all the time and just create those spaces where we can just be our authentic selves. You share something with me, I don't have to worry about you don't have to worry about me taking it to the streets. I share something with you, I don't have to even preface it with my disclaimer, this is just between you and I know it's just between you and I. And we need women to really start building that kind of a trust between each other, because it's few and far between. But when you find a good village, and me personally, I know for a fact that I have united a lot of women, because when I find women like me, I'm like, oh, you got to meet her. That's how I am. I'm like, oh, you got to meet her. And then I'll have some kind of an event and I'll invite them all, and then they all like each other. And that's how I was with my podcast. It was, what was it, International Podcasting Day. I united three women in podcasting, three sisters in podcasting. They never knew each other, but they are so much alike, and they saw why I put them all together. The most authentic women you will ever find.
Mhm.
um, but that's how we need to be. When we find people that are like-minded, we need to group together. We need to see what each other knows. Don't come into the room thinking that you know it all, because you're not. If you're the smartest person in the room, then you need to get into a different room,
Mhm.
because that means you're not going to grow. And this is why I open myself up to this platform, so that I can grow and so that I can impart my sister wisdom and I can receive my sister wisdom, right? So,
Makes a lot of
any last
sense.
words? Any what wisdom do you, no, as we close, what sister wisdom do you want to give to the sisters out there?
I think I've said most of it already, but I think I'll wrap it up with just what I said about calling people up, not calling people out. And really it just comes from being there, being authentic, being open, and just offering your best advice, offering your best comfort, but offer it in a way that will elevate, because that is the goal, to get better, to go higher. Continue to walk and move in faith with everything that's good and powerful and positive, because there's so much negativity in the world today, everywhere we look, so much dysfunction. And I think if we can just find a way to keep that in mind, okay, and anything that I'm going to do, I'm going to walk in love, I'm going to act in love, I'm going to speak in love, and I'm going to be committed to calling my sister up, not calling my sister out. That's it.
I agree. That is sage advice. I love it. And by the way, I always say that is sage advice. I love that word sage. I don't know why. I love it. My sister wisdom for the day would be to hold space for each other.
Mhm.
Don't always think that when somebody tells you something, they're coming from a bad place. Give people space and give them grace. When you're having any type of a moment and somebody's pulling you to the side, as you said, pulling you up, don't second guess it just because you have this wall up. Let your wall down, because sometimes when you do that and when you think people are just automatically coming from a bad place, you miss your blessings. You miss the message. And so let's stop doing that. Let's just listen. Just listen with an open heart, because we're open to choice. God gave us all free will. So we're gonna do what we're gonna do anyway. But don't come in with a preconceived
Mhm.
notion that, oh, she don't know what she's talking about. She knows what she's talking about. You just don't want to accept it. Just call it what it is. Just pull yourself up. Say self, hey, let me deal with myself. Look inward sometimes, because sometimes we have to really say, well, what is it about this person and what they're telling me is irritating me? get to your own root cause of why you're not receiving it well, So that's what I'm going to leave the people with today. So thank you so much, Miss Rosie Bailey, for gracing the Sister Wisdom stage and being our opening act.
Yes, a pleasure to be here.
Yes. And so tell the folks where they can find you if they want to book Secret Sauce marketing.
Oh, you know what? Okay, so it's really easy. The website where you can find me and my contact information is secretsauceworks.com. And it really is because the secret sauce really does work. And then my encouragement website is this2.com. And that just comes from this2shallpass.com. And if you want to find my page on Facebook, it's This Too Shall Pass Encouragement for Today. And I'm sure Noreen will have a link. But if you go to the this2.com, there are links to the social media pages as well. So come on,
So you said secretsauceworks.com.
secretsauceworks.com and this2.com.
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 Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much. I hope the people are going to be encouraged, uplifted. I'm sure they are. So I thank you so much. I thank you for everyone that has tuned in and joined us. If you're on the replay, hit hashtag replay. You know, as far as Save Our Sisters group, stay tuned for more. We will return on the 31st. See, a week from now. Yeah, 2 weeks from now would be the 31st. And then we're going to be on with Miss Paula Sema of the Talk Shit with P podcast. So she's going to be imparting her sister wisdom. Cuss free. I will hope for cuss free. So look forward to January 31st, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. That will be our second episode of Sister Wisdom Wednesday. I thank you guys all for joining. I will tell you, you can now get on the Save Our Sisters website at www.saveoursisters.net. I will be putting that up here so you can see it. Because we are live. We've just had some little hiccups. I was doing some updating and making sure was work in order. Because when you donate, I want the money to where our college fund for young girls coming out of high school going into college. So definitely want to hold on. Can't talk and type. There we go. All right, there's the website. Wait a minute.
There you are.
The website. Technology. I'm not savvy. I'm still learning. So anyway, yeah, stay tuned. We want you to just explore the site. Let us know what you want to see. If we need to tweak anything, I'm always open to doing things better. So I've already had some folks contact me about the resources page on that site. I put in a lot of resources. A lot of people don't know where to go when they need help, and mental health care is big for me. I'm still working through all my stuff, and I'm very open about it because I like to just advocate for that, because I think a lot of people are going through a lot right now. And as you said before, knowing that they're not alone in their life struggles is truly important. So I put a resource page on there so that folks could see, whatever situation they're going through, this is the number you call. This is the person that you talk to. So the site is up. Hope you guys enjoy it. I hope you guys enjoy this. You can put hashtag replay. Hashtag replay. I see Miss Kay Woods was on, so I'm glad that she was able to join us today. And for all of you that have joined us, thank you. And we will talk to you soon. Peace and blessings.
All right. Take care.
Bye.